Welcome to Never By the Book podcast. This is your host, Kelly Schols. At 24, I was dead broke and a full-blown alcoholic. By age 40, I was debt-free and a millionaire. Now I share my secrets to success and transformation with audiences around the world as a speaker, author, success mentor, and of course, your podcast host. Each Never By the Book episode features a guest who has overcome obstacles to build an incredible life of fulfillment. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest today. Ellen is founder and president of Zoom Drain, one of the hottest home service franchises in the country. She is also the author of 4 best-selling books and regularly shares her knowledge, wisdom, and business savvy through seminars, podcasts, and magazines like the Huffington Post. She's also on the go and seems to draw from an endless source of energy, creativity, and levity. Lately, she says she's been focusing on what it takes for us to change. With our episode entitled Need a Lift? Be willing to shift from the inside out. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the show, Ellen. I'm going to go back here a little bit, Ellen. So tell me how a plumber gets a lady that's been very educated, been brought up basically with a silver platter. How does he end up marrying her?
I'll tell you how.
Okay.
He picks me up on my first day on a motorcycle, and I've never been on one before.
Okay.
So that's a cheap trick, fellas, that works. I really like that just new stuff I didn't know. I guess that's
okay.
I'm a book smart person. I'm a bit of a deep thinker. But the actual, in times of need, my husband is the guy. My brother's house blew down in a tornado, and Hot Rod just shows up and he caps off the gas and he figures out where the electrical is going to blow somebody up. And he's just doing stuff that I would think, how would you even know to start there? I would think you just have to pick your way out of it and move and walk away and never look back. But someone like that, that's why I just love tradespeople so much. It's just that common sense ain't common, Kelly. And I really appreciate people who understand and have a good affinity for the mechanical systems of life. Understand gravity and physics.
Well, and there's a big difference between, like you say, being book smart and being common sense smart.
The way we test plumbers and HVAC guys, the way we test tradespeople is so ass backwards with the way they think.
Right.
To have a multiple choice, weirdly worded question for a technician, just have them fix something, show us how to do it. The practical aspect of it should really be 99% of the reason why you move it. So that's something am I going to get involved with that? No, it's not really my jam, but someone has the opportunity. Hopefully I can encourage someone on our team to get more involved there. I know there's things that have to change about how people get licenses and how they demonstrate their expertise, how that I do believe, I am in my group, especially, I am considered quite liberal, but I don't trust in business to do right by people. I do think there has to be some regulation and rules. And can we overdo it? Sure. And do we focus on the wrong things? Absolutely. But I do think that there has to be some way to ascertain that people are doing the right thing, and that may even be like all good things, some partnership with the private industry and some government oversight. But that's I get in over. I start getting way over my skis on that one. So, but we'll leave that one alone.
So how did you guys come up with the? I know can you talk a little bit about when you ran Benjamin Franklin? Because you helped grow that to pretty good size.
I'll tell you, a lot of my career has been just being early in. It's like with a stock or something, I got early in. So when I got hired by the folks at what came to be known as Clockworks, the investment group that came to be known as Clockworks. I got hired as the first employee. Well, you can call yourself president if that's the situation. So I'm the president. I'm the only one at this point. And the business model was they had an affinity group. It was Plumber Success International. And the idea was to mine that affinity group for people who wanted to take the next step and become a franchisee. So franchising is, in essence, anything that has a consistent brand. You know, you fly the same flag, you have operations and documented systems, and then you charge for it. So if you do those three things, you're a franchise. Okay. Now, there's some unregulated franchises out there, but franchising involves those three things: the brand, the systems to which you're held accountable, and then you pay for all that. So that's why most affinity groups don't have a common flag. Because if they are going to hold people to the systems, then you got to get rid of one of those, and they're going to charge people. You got to get rid of one of those what do you call it? Variables in the equation. So when I was at Benjamin Franklin, they decided I wanted to do the franchise, and we grew from 0 to 47 locations in under 2 years. That's really fast. It was, I mean, fast. And I'm still like the most I was completely underqualified to do this, completely punching over my weight on this. But I'll tell you what I did that made all the difference is because I didn't know what I was doing, I went on ride-alongs. So I sat with the guys, shotgun in the truck, and asked them questions like, what do you want out of life? And what are we doing that's getting in the way? And what's one really stupid thing we've done that we've asked you to do that is a waste of your time? And they will tell you. And what I was in a position to do was affect the change. And most of the dumb ideas were dumb ideas I had. And I'm like, all right, you know, so if you can small ego, big mission it as you approach your team members, what I discovered is your team members will fix things for you. Your franchisees will fix things for you. Thanks to the Richardsons to this day, JR and Creasa Richardson, of the 47 franchisees I signed on, they went on 40 of the welcome aboard trips for no money. Wow. They just wanted to make sure I did it right. Yeah. You know, but that kind of like commitment of the team, like I really learned that I didn't have to know everything. I just had to be willing to admit it and ask for help, and then set the stage for people to fix the things that were going to really impact them. And it taught me a lot. Taught me a lot that I brought to Zoom Drain. I never became the best at any of these systems, save like the basic financial systems that I've used for 30 years now. It's, you know, they haven't changed one jot because accounting doesn't change, you know, so that area I brought some content to the party, but other than that, I just held their beer while they pointed out what was. Here's one thing that I learned that was just stupid, and I don't, if you do it, great, I still think it's stupid. Would go to a house and the instruction was you were supposed to give the homeowner a CD or a DVD rather to play while we're there, that's going to help them upsell certain things. No one wants to do that. The tech doesn't want to do it. The customer is like, no, thank you. It was just the stupidest idea from the get-go. But I knew it when I went on a ride along, and I thought, where is this miracle supposed to happen in the sales process? Like, at what point is this going to be smooth and natural? And let me plug this DVD in and watch some mid-range production quality on a drain cleaning product. It's not going to happen. No. You know, and so those are the kind of like, get that stuff out of the way. Let's just like, this isn't complicated. They have a clogged drain, we can fix it. Let's go. You know, so this is a lot of what I learned as a result of that. So when I left there, and you know, we were in good hands. One thing I did there is I set up my replacement thanks to Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter took my job. And I was very encouraging of that career move for him and that organizational chart move for us at with the Clockworks group. And he kicked ass. So like, you know, set yourself up so that you're replaceable, gives you some freedom. I didn't want to move to Florida where the headquarters was. I wanted to take a break and try something else. And I knew I wanted to do franchising again, but I wanted to do it slower. I wanted to do it. I just wanted to learn the best of what I'd learned. And I wasn't ready, but you know, it's just seasons. Like, there's a great podcast. If you search Brene Brown, Tim Ferriss, and Dak Shepard have a podcast. Brene Brown hosts it. Okay. But I just searched that. A friend of mine gave it to me. And they were talking about regret. And I thought, over and over in my life, the things that happened like if I regretted it to the point where I needed to make amends or make an apology or say I'm sorry, like that's good. And then do that, right? Do that and then build from that. But so often, even those hardships or those mistakes turn out to be the best things over and over again. Like your story.
Yeah.
How many rainbows did you find as a result of those dark days that you've been
A
through?
lot of them. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I'm at without those.
Mm-hmm.
For
And
sure.
so, I think it's a function of age, that you get a little more perspective on some of these things. But like, so just like wherever you are, if the point of power is now, and whatever scars you have are going to come in handy in some way.
Yeah.
Either
Embrace
in terms
them.
of what you want to do different or
Embrace
yes,
them and
bless
learn from
these.
them. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, you don't like, it'll give you empathy. It'll give you, I've seen that before. Don't want to go down that
Yeah.
road again. Or just like an appreciation, like, I see how that led to this. And now here I am. So, and then when I do feel like there was this serendipitous moment, Al Levy and I were just talking about franchise. I knew I wanted to do franchising again, and Al knew he wanted to invest. So one of his goals, it said right on his business card, was venture capital. He wanted to invest in companies.
Yeah.
So as Al and I are talking about it, the phone lights up and it's Jim saying, I think I could franchise Zoom Drain. Would you guys be interested in doing this with me? And we're like, are you kidding me? We were just talking about it. It was just like this. So while Al and I had been talking in terms of like, maybe one of our clients would be interested, I didn't have Zoom Drain in mind until Jim called. And then it was like, oh yeah, this would be perfect. And that's when we started to work together. And in typical Al Levy fashion, he's like, we're not ready yet. We're going to spend a year or two refining the systems, getting really good. So we took a hot minute, which made me feel better. And even as we grew, we have the best, we call them the OGs, the franchisees we have invited to the group right now, love each other. I love them. They love me back. Like we have such a good communal vibe going that we got us off to a really great start. Now we feel we're really in a position where we can fly.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty awesome. So that experience at Benjamin Franklin really set the stage for, the best of what we're doing at Zoom Drain for sure. And just, Al's emphasis on the manuals and systems. Al has an alarm go off on his phone if it's time to change his shoes. Like, like he's just so organized, and all of that, kind of brought it. And Jim is a former U.S. Air Force vet. He's a tidy, disciplined, well-appointed gentleman. He likes things to run right. So someone like me, who's a little more
free spirit,
really does well with that kind of external discipline. Like I wouldn't want me to be in charge because I don't think people would be safe. So I can be the Merlin to the King Arthur. Absolutely. That's my job.
You're the cheerleader out there.
Yeah. I was a cheerleader. Does that surprise you?
Doesn't surprise me at all. Well, being, able to come there and see it, I can see the wonderful things you guys are doing there. That's for sure.
Thank you so much. I mean, we really have a lot going on. And as long as I'm giving kudos too, and we found investors, like, just so you know, like if you're listening and you're thinking investors, oh man, you give up a lot of power, blah, blah, blah. I feel like with my investors, we married up.
Yeah.
We got people who are just whip smart. We've got just a little breathing room with the financial risk and the resources that we now have available, and just the support and the love and the compassion and the understanding and the wisdom that they bring from the other businesses they've worked with. It's been fantastic. Now there's a lot of money out there. My encouragement would be to find someone who doesn't make your stomach hurt, who, don't discount those gut cues when you're talking to potential investors, because it will make a difference. It's a very vulnerable experience to have investors, someone who's looking at the books, looking at your operations, and can be making suggestions, but it can be really awkward or awful unless you're aligned in heart and spirit. So I am very grateful for the partners we've found, and I think there's some really great ones out there, but it's going to be a matter of finding people who are a good fit for you.
Well, and if nothing else, it's going to make you look at your business and then run it like it should be ran. Run it like it should, like it's for sale.
Tell more about that, because I think that's such a ding 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 moment. Talk about that, because you've obviously had some experience with people who wanted to sell perhaps and weren't ready.
Yeah, I originally, when I first thought about selling, I wasn't ready. And again, what you said earlier about Michael Gerber, set your business up to run it like it's for sale. And really, it doesn't matter whether it's your business or your personal finances. You should always be looking at things like that. You should be setting yourself up for success in the future. So many people just worry about today instead, plan for today or live for today, but plan for tomorrow. People don't do that.
I didn't.
Yeah. Everything's about right now, right now, right now, which is fine, but the future is going to come. So how are you going to set yourself up?
And your class is so good for that, because you and I have both struggled with this. How do we get them to come knowing how vulnerable it will make them feel,
right?
How inadequate, because shame doesn't get you anywhere in this game. That doesn't help. But that getting folks over the hump on it, like for me, like when I look back, like what made me change was that the pain of the current condition was so bad. I was willing to go out of business. I was willing to go do anything. I was not going to live my life this way, fighting all the time, in debt to my eyeballs, not seeing any way out. I wasn't going to do that anymore. So that's what gave me the courage to make some changes. And I still was a bit of a slow learner. Like I still didn't raise my prices for like 18 months. Right. But I did. I finally got over it. And it was really that just pain point becoming so great. But now it's different. Like now I'm like, oh, what's interesting and new, and how could I make like it's so much more carrot than stick now. But at first it was definitely stick for me, and I'm suspecting for you too.
Yeah. When did you write your first book?
In the 1990s.
Okay.
In the 1990s is when I wrote it. In fact, right now, we're moving slow on this project, going through it just to kind of take out like yellow pages references, because who does it? So the content is sound, but some of the details and stories could be updated a little bit. So I wrote the book because I wish I'd had that book.
Yeah.
And I just like, if I'd had a thin book with pictures, what the heck is a balance sheet? What are they talking about? What's a profit and loss? Why is it also called an income statement? Are they different? Like there's a glossary in there, just those basics. I got a book called Accounting for Dummies, and it was like 500 pages.
Yeah.
I don't even read a long email. Don't send me a long email. So like I just wanted a skinny book that I would, and that's what I did, wrote that one, and then I wrote the one on, so then that goes to, well, then how much should I charge? So 1, 2, and then all of that, once you stop the bleeding, then the next question, the question I asked my husband, the question I'm asked, what do you want?
Right.
So where are we going now? What's the point? Those what, why, how, when, those are business planning questions. And then I wrote a couple books on business planning. So I don't have another book in me until, talk to me about Zoom in 5 years. Okay. So I'm working on a really good story right now, but I have no interest in writing it just yet.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. But here's something now, even for my audience that is not in business, that maybe is an employee, where did the money go is a good book for even people to read for their personal finances.
100%. When you, because you can set up a balance sheet. So on my personal balance sheet, I've got assets, cash, savings, investments. My investments went down this quarter. I don't like looking at them more than once a quarter, but I do look at them once a quarter because I update my balance sheet. Now, so those are assets, and then there's liabilities, and that would be your mortgage or your car loan, right? And then the difference is equity. So it's what you have, assets, minus what you owe, liabilities, equals equity, or, and this is
net
weird,
worth.
Net worth is what it's
Yep.
called on a personal balance
Yep.
sheet. So somebody needed to tell me that. Why is
Yeah.
it called net worth? What is net worth? I
Right.
didn't know. I knew what equity was before I knew what net worth was. Right.
Well,
So
yeah. And that's something I talk about in the class is I talk about net worth because, you see the people driving the big fancy cars and living in the big house. Okay. But what's their equity? What's their,
they could be upside down, which means
They-
that you have way more in liabilities than assets. So you have a negative equity
a
or
negative,
negative net worth.
negative net worth. Right.
Right. And so if you are keeping score and if you
Yep.
are at all competitive, how much fun is it to turn that to a positive?
Mhm.
And then how cool is it? Do you want to be a millionaire? I remember when my net worth went over $1 million. It was a
See,
good
yep.
day.
Yeah.
But then I thought that's not that much money.
Right.
Then you set new goals, right? Now my
Right.
latest goal is to have a net worth of 10 million, to be a decamillionaire.
Yeah.
That's a cute number. You're making
Yeah.
this stuff up. Like you can
Right.
pick anything you want, but then the game gets very, very cool. At
Yeah.
first, you're going to just try and wrangle that debt. You're going to try and get from being upside
Yep.
down with Kelly's good counsel. Just, it's not impossible to do, but it does take a plan and discipline.
It does. And
Yeah.
I
And you've
would
got that.
recommend anybody that's working on debt, anybody that's struggling with any sort of debt or doesn't understand it, business, finances, debt, anything, buy Ellen's book because it will help
Thank you.
It will.
Well, and here's the thing about a business too. Like here's what another recommendation I make. Suppose you got a great job, and you're not making ends meet. My recommendation would be explore doing a side business before you get
Right.
that second job, because the second job, you're not going to have enough overtime on either. You're not going to have any time. And you're not going to probably move up the ladder. Now, I cannot speak for every individual. So you
Right.
have to decide this for yourself. But if I could do a side hustle and I could create a business,
Yeah.
the business is the thing over which you have more control. And if you charge more than it costs, you are manufacturing money.
That's right.
It's so good. That's what, like a business of your own is in this country, even with the hardships. I get it. I'm not being judgy. I understand this opportunity is not available to anyone. But if there's any way you could start a side hustle, a truck business, I love truck businesses because you can get a truck loan.
Yeah.
And you got a billboard now and you could sleep in it if you had to. There's so much flexibility with the truck service business. That's one to explore. Any kind of service business where something that someone's willing to pay you for, the intellectual capital of that. So websites, how many bad resources have we experienced when it comes to internet help? I've wasted so much time, energy, and money on that. So there's still lots of opportunity in these service businesses. And then you proceduralize it and then someone else can do it instead of you. Like a business of your own is really your path to moving up the ladder.
Yes. But the key you said there is to proceduralize it.
Yeah.
And
don't quit the day job yet. Like and this is where you have to talk to your family and just say, so the book I wrote, The Weekend Biz Plan, and you're welcome to give this one away. Did I give you the link to this?
No.
Can I put it in the chat?
Sure.
The Weekend Biz Plan came from, I wrote a book on business planning, 6 weeks, very, it's awesome. But I also realized that people would then say, do you have a shorter version? Could I do it in a weekend? Yeah. So you could do it in an afternoon. You could put a little business plan together. And so I put a little business planning book together. Share this business plan with your significant other, with your family, and then put a D-Day on the calendar. Give me some time to just work on this. It's not going to just happen unless I give it some time and energy and maybe some money. Are we on this? Are we going to pinky swear? Could we do this? But don't let it go on forever. Give yourself 6 months where you come to a meeting again and you bring your family back in and you look for reasonable progress and reasonable time. as
Yep.
Jim Rohn would say, right? So that, is this going to work? If not, something has to change. You don't,
Right.
this first plan didn't work, do another plan, but don't just keep throwing money at it, right? You know,
Right.
there,
Yeah.
you know, but if you get your team involved on that, I do think it is possible. I think it's required that your family
Yes.
is in on this with you, if that makes sense to you.
Oh, I would for sure. I mean, when I'm talking about personal finance, I always talk about sitting down with your family, and not just your spouse. If you got kids, have your kids sit
Yes.
down with you and talk about your dreams. Talk about
Have
what
you
you
ever
want to.
heard of Mark Timm? Mark Timm is a pretty interesting guy, and his gig, he works through Ziegler. His gig is that he treats his family like a company.
Yeah.
He brought the skill set. He said he wasn't that great as a dad, but he was a good executive, and maybe we could apply. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Maybe we could apply some of these skills. But what they did is they created, a family crest and a mission
Yeah.
statement and a list of projects and positions on the org chart. Who's going to do what, and then how we're going to spend our money, and do we
Yeah.
vote on going on vacation? And there were a lot of
A
parallels
lot of it.
that you could apply to your family that created some real power within the
Right.
family.
Yep.
And I
Sure.
really, at first I thought that sounds weird. And then I thought, that sounds awesome. And it is. So Mark Timm with 2 M's is an interesting cat
Yeah.
to explore.
Well, I didn't go quite as far as he did, but I can say I did quite a bit of that with my family too. I mean,
Tell me more. What'd you do?
we would sit down at the dinner table 4 to 5 nights a week and talk about what we were doing. The kids were doing in school. Heather and I were doing the business, what we wanted to accomplish as a family, how we were going to accomplish it, what we needed to do. And by doing that, that's where we got to where we were at.
And then they know I'm not going
Yeah.
to be available on Friday. I know it's game night.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, someone else is going to substitute for your supporting team that
Yeah.
week. I mean, there are some sacrifices. You can't do it forever, but you can do it occasionally as long as
Right.
they know why.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's communication. And, if you will sit down with your family and talk and be open and honest, more people would rather talk about sex than money. But if you
Isn't
will,
that the weirdest, truest thing?
I know it's weird, isn't it? But
Yes.
that's something that every family should do, is sit down and talk about money with each other and with their kids.
Hey, going back to my family, it was verboten to talk about money, and we ended up with none.
Yeah.
Like the way it worked, like, should we have been paying more attention? Yeah. And so is that the worst thing that happened to me? No, because as a result, I became more of a person. I think if I had just had everything handed to me, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah.
Right. But like, it was so interesting. Nobody talked about money. It was considered bad form. You didn't ask anybody. Like, my dad never shared anything that was going on. It was just, and it was a sign of the times. And again, I grew up, I had a great family, great opportunities. I am a grateful girl. And I just also saw the dysfunction not talking about it had on our family, that the effect it had on our family.
Yeah. And it will. I mean, one of the top causes for divorce is money fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love what you're doing. I love that you're asking me to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you for the soapbox today, Kelly.
I appreciate having you on here. So any final thoughts for my audience today, Ellen?
The point of power is now. No matter where you are, no matter what you got. I mentioned it earlier, and I love this expression. I heard that the women's U.S. soccer team says this, that their mantra is small ego, big mission. Don't worry about how you got here. Maybe a crappy bookkeeper made a mess of your books, or your mom was doing it. She was doing the best she can. Whatever. Where you are is the point of power, and forward, always forward. So try to operate in an arena of no blame or shame when it comes to the money. Doesn't matter. Right. Just like, what can we do from this point forward? I see people get stuck in that cycle to the point of not moving forward. And that would be my encouragement. And definitely come and visit me. I did post that freebie.
Thank you.
And that gets you to my website. So if you get the book, you put your name and email. You can always quit the email blast, but if you want. You can see what we're up to. And then zoomdrainfranchise.com. If Kelly's bragging on me has made you interested in checking out that opportunity, it's pretty spectacular. So check us out there too.
Perfect.
You're
Thank you, Ellen.
I love you. Love to
Same
Rebecca
here.
and your family. And thanks for being my friend. And we'll talk more.
We will. And I can't wait to talk more. And hopefully next time I come in, I get to see you next time at Zoom Drain.
Yes, I will come next time. I was in my office in Utah. I don't know how I get away with it, but I don't even work there. How cool is that? So love.
I can stop in there too.
Yes, you're always welcome in Utah.
All right.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Ellen. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening to Never Buy the Book. Share it with someone you care about, and don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. As we close today, remember, if you're not doing it by the book, it might just mean you're onto something great. Until next time, be great. And we're done. That's a wrap.